Here she goes. Okay, good. Here.
Perfect.
Awesome. So, so Laurie,
Yes.
how you been?
I've been really well. I had my daughter's wedding last
I
weekend.
see. You had a busy week.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah,
We danced the whole night and just it
I
was
saw the
beautiful and
pictures.
amazing and perfect. What'd you say?
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, it was. And I'm so stupid I didn't get a single picture of my daughter. Not a single one. But we had a
What?
fabulous I know. But it was great. It was great. I would do it again in a minute. And I love my new son-in-law. So
Good. Yeah. How long
yeah.
has you been together?
About 2 years.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you have your wedding coming up. Your daughter's
Yes,
wedding.
my daughter in a month.
See, you'll know
So
what it's
who's this
like.
guy in the corner here? I see up
Yeah, I
here.
know. Who is this old
Who
man?
is this
I
guy?
don't know.
So I want to welcome everybody. Dave Clinansmith. He was the director in. I'm going to say, Dave. Tell me the year that you started, because I must have been a kid, or was it 1980,
Wait,
or
let
was
me
it
guess.
before that?
Is it? I think it's 81.
You're off 2 years, Laurie. It was 1979. We came in the month
Okay.
of. We came at the end of the summer. I interviewed in July with the board at camp, and then we moved out just before Labor Day. And Michael was born in June of that year, so he was only 3 months when we got there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but your first summer was
Was
1980.
1980
1980.
Oh,
Okay,
it was
that was
19.
actually my first summer too.
Yeah, and I ran the program that summer. Kevin Smith was the director
Okay.
because they wanted to, because I didn't want to be director until I became a program director, so I could get an understanding of the program
Oh,
in the
that's a good
summer.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a good advice. That's already an advice without him giving me
yeah,
advice.
yeah.
Huh.
That's great. And then
Yeah,
I think your last summer was 86, right?
Was 87. I left in 87 in December, and
Look at this.
I
yeah, we all
there
see
we
your
go.
shirt.
We see your shirt. Yeah.
This is the first time I'm wearing it since 1986.
I believe Mike Kelleher came in January or February of 88.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was my 86 was my first summer that I worked there.
Right.
And I remember you asking me to stay for a couple of sessions here and there. I'm not sure what exactly I did. Just did whatever.
Nobody knows what you did,
I did
Charlie.
whatever I needed to do to stay. I had nothing else going on in my life.
I'm never quite sure what people did either. I mean, Lori was in the office
Sure.
for a while and
Yeah,
then
I
became
was
counselor, and she became counselor, and
yeah.
I went through a lot of. By the time we left, our kids that came as campers when they were 8 years old were counselors when we left.
Oh.
So we trained them all the way up through that period.
Wow.
Wow.
And
I
that
know
was
your
always
daughter.
a goal of mine to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know your daughter commented nice, about growing up there. It was really nice. It was very touching. I remember reading that.
She never understood camp until we left there, and that we weren't going to have a gym in our backyard. We weren't going to have a swimming pool and things like that. It was quite a shock to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's quite a shock.
Yeah, now the gym was built while you were there.
Yeah, the gym was built. Probably, I think after the third or fourth year, Hugh Kirkland was there with us, with Martha. And we actually raised all the money through Jim Kelleher and that whole board situation. We raised it all in cash, and we paid for it as we went.
Wow.
And there was a lot of hard work, a lot of volunteers on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And,
I know Mike mentioned that his dad went up there on weekends he was building that
he
gym.
coordinated a different group to pour. I think we poured the floor in there on 3 different Saturdays. We did the gym in 2 halves. We did the
Amazing.
which is now the back room there, a laundry room and all that other stuff in there.
Right.
And we did the pads on the outside that last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was all volunteer help, and it was all new help every time they came up.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
Jim.
amazing.
Jim could coordinate. He was very good at that. Yeah.
Wow.
There's a picture floating around of my brother and Dave Albertson doing the roof. I think it was Dave Albertson. But I remember doing the floor, and I still know exactly where my section of tiles is, 6 up and 8 over from this one floor. I know exactly where it is.
That's funny.
I can show it to you. But yeah.
Yeah, we would work with Mr. Mapes and his son, Hugh and I, we'd work all week until Friday because we had retreats all the time going.
Right.
So we had long 7-day weeks there for quite a while.
Sure
but Mr.
did.
Mapes was so good at his job and just a good organizer and just a good contractor. He did a great job with that.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, so we'll get back to that. Laurie, I want you to share what you wanted to show us.
Okay.
You said you had some things to show us.
Yeah, I've been working with a contractor, and she has
what kind
agreed.
of contractor?
You'll find out.
T-shirt contractor?
Yeah, maybe a T-shirt. Wait, where is my calendar?
Not the same contractor that Dave was talking about.
No, but here it has the emblem on the front and on the back.
Oh, wow.
Can you see? It says staff.
Yeah.
And could you see it?
I saw
You
it.
can see it. You can see it.
And I have tumblers.
Oh my goodness. A tumbler? Wait, you called it a tumbler?
What do you call it?
A coffee mug?
Well, it's 16 ounces. It can be hot or cold, 16 hours. And I've tested it.
Dave, did you ever heard of the word tumbler?
I've heard it since I moved out from Michigan out here. Yes.
I never heard that term.
I don't know. I've been through too many.
Is that
decades.
an Ohio thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in Ohio. I'm in Florida now. But
right.
yeah, so it can be hot or cold, 16 hours.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm working on sweatshirts. She's looking into different kind of sweatshirts. Do you guys think a hoodie or a hoodie with a zipper? Or crew neck? Take a vote.
Well, I don't know. I like a hoodie with a zipper personally, but
I do too.
Yeah, I think it's easier to put on.
Right, like a jacket.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I like too. So, but people can comment underneath this when you post it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll put the link on so we can. This is the official T-shirt.
Official T-shirt
thing.
Company.
Not the scams that are coming on our Facebook.
No, but so she is going to. It's through her Etsy shop. She has a whole Etsy shop.
Good.
And she's going to use it as a fundraiser. So, however much we buy, a part of the money
that'll be great.
Straight back to Sunshine Acres.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. So everybody, just
buy your shirts.
Buy your shirts. Buy your mugs, tumblers, whatever they call it.
Buy your thing. Your drinking vessels. Buy them here.
All right. So I wanted to update you guys since Dave was at the work weekend and you obviously know about it. So the pool got done. We, I don't know if you knew, Laurie, but while we were there, we had 2 temporary pumps put in there to get the pool going while we were waiting for the pump to be ordered. He ordered it. We were waiting for it to come. So one of the pumps broke, one of the hoses broke, and it was like a waterfall. And we lost I don't know, what did we lose? Like 8 inches of water? Were you there, Dave, that day? No, you weren't there that day.
No, I wasn't there on Sunday.
So the next day we wake up and there's a waterfall going on one of the pumps. And so we lost like a good 6 to 12 inches, a good amount of water.
Right.
It wasn't the end of the world, but the problem was if we put in the well water, it's going to be brown all over again. And we had the work week. We had the weekend next week. So it would have been problematic. If we would have got a delivery, it would have cost us over $500 because they're not going to deliver a little bit amount of water. They're going to want to deliver a whole amount to make it worth their while.
Mhm.
So we decided to just to leave it and let it be low, a little bit low. It wasn't that big of a deal, and just deal with it. And the pool wound up looking great.
Good.
You saw the pictures,
Mhm.
and the 2 weekends were a success. Everyone
Good.
was happy. Um, even the next weekend that we had, they weren't expecting it, and they got to go in there. I mean, it
Oh,
was
Oh,
good.
90% clean. Like, it was 99. It was
Right.
pretty clean. Like, it was enough that there was enough chlorine in it. It was clean. It was a
sure.
little foggy, no big deal. Then the
Okay.
weekend after that, it was perfect. So that worked out. Couple of things, we had the fire that somebody set off the fire alarm. Freaking out in the middle of the night. Mike Molsted's running around trying to figure it out. We locked the office. He didn't know where the office key was. He's calling me in the middle of the night, asking me where the key is. Meanwhile, the key was hanging up right above the door. So we took care of that, and then I got something funny to tell you both. So we filled up the dumpster 3/4. I think it was about 3/4 full, but I didn't realize that there was garbage outside of the gym in the corner there where they were cleaning out
Mhm.
I didn't realize that there was garbage there. So the cleaning lady says, "There's a bunch of garbage here. What do you want me to do with it?" So I said, "Oh, I didn't even realize." I said, "Can you throw it out?" So she says, "Well, it's too heavy. I'll get my husband to do it." I said, "Okay, great. Thank you." So they threw it. Meanwhile, it overfilled the dumpster,
Dumpster.
and the bears opened it up,
No.
and garbage all
Oh,
over the woods on that side, like all over the next morning.
wow.
So now Mike Molstead and his 90-year-old dad is cleaning up all the garbage in that corner. They spent hours cleaning it. They get it all back in there. They close it up. The Bears get it again the next week.
No.
He does it all over again. Yeah. So we got a
Wow.
different dumpster now. It costs
Okay.
us a little bit more, a better dumpster that they're not going to be able to get in there. But um, I don't know if you saw it, Dave, but we asked two of the kids, I think it was the next day though. We asked two of the kids to go up to the chapel to get the oars, because we
Right.
brought we brought two down, and then we forgot the oars. They go up there, they come running down saying, "There's a baby bear." So I said, "Oh my
No.
gosh, there's a baby bear. This must be a mama." So I said,
Exactly.
"Don't go back there. Don't
Exactly.
worry." Yeah. So
Wow.
apparently there's bears that are coming down. I mean, it's to be expected. It's quiet, the
Right.
camp. So, I mean, I think I remember hearing about bear sightings in the past. Did you ever hear that, Dave?
Never had bears. Never had bears.
No?
But we had a lot of activities around there. I mean, there were neighbors there all the time. We were there with camp running all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, we just had
Oh,
deer.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Deer,
yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
guess,
Plus we didn't have garbage too much laying around to bring them
right.
down too. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
Right, right, right.
So
Yeah, so that
Wow.
happened. But they cleaned it up. Everything was good. Um, the weekends went well. They were very happy. We had a big weekend, 120 people. We had a small weekend the week right after we were there. And
Uh-huh.
then the week after, we had a big one, 120 people.
Awesome.
They were
And where
very
did guys
happy. They're from Albany
go? Okay.
area. And they're it's funny, but it's called Awaken Church. And when I
Mhm.
met them, they're all from, I'm gonna say it's a very small, I don't know if it's a separate company, a country. It's like a off country from China, like Myanmar, or some one of those types of countries.
Okay.
But how did they all know each other and
Yeah.
flock to
Huh.
one church?
Right.
hmm,
Because it's a big church.
Yeah.
You could see that if there's a family or whatever, but it seems like it's that type of church. Like
They all
they
knew each other
they all
and
knew each other. They were all from relatively the same country, and it
okay.
was like an obscure country in off
Hmm.
China or something.
Okay.
And because I met them when they were a bunch of them came um, a month or two prior, maybe
Right.
2, 3 months
Sure.
prior, when I just happened to be there, and they wanted to check out the place, so I showed them the place and everything.
Okay.
So, oh, thank God that worked out.
So where did
So
everybody sleep? In the lodge or in the cabins or
both,
both?
both,
Wow. 120. So
120.
there must not have been too many beds left over.
No, no. Well, I think I'm trying to think how many fit in each cabin. Is 12,
Uh,
and there's
yeah, 12 sounds right.
8 cabins. So
Okay.
that
48.
alone, plus we could fit like 100 in the lodge, or 80, right? I think 80. Um,
I don't know.
yeah, I think about 80 comfortably. Like I think if you used 2 for the double bed and all the bunks, I think you could fit like that
Right.
much. But
Okay.
I think they had shifts. I mean, we had to hire so as far as the cooks are concerned, for now, um, we have spot weekends right now. So we don't have a permanent cook. We have 2 or 3 people that we're rotating around to see whoever's available. So we
Right.
have this one guy. He's relatively expensive,
Hmm.
but he's available and he's good.
Okay.
So we use them for that because the other person that we have is my daughter's future mother-in-law. I told
Right.
you she's
Yeah.
great too, but she wasn't just happened to not be available that weekend.
Sure.
So she couldn't do it, but she's willing to do it. But I told the board, we talked about it, and I said it's good to have a couple of people. You have
Right.
one that could do it for less money. They all do a good job so far. But we'll obviously favor the less expensive one, but we're
Right.
not going to throw away the expensive one because now look at what happened. We needed them.
We need
So yeah,
exactly.
so it just worked out that way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you know, I mean, just from my view, I'm coming in. I've been on the board, 6 months at this point. I mean, we don't have a director. We're just getting the camp back together. So
Hmm.
now at this point, everything's kind of streamlined as far as, what we need to do as far as getting the groups, streamlined a little bit better. We have
Right.
a little routine, but there's no room to move forward at this point as far as growing the camp. We don't advertise. We don't have time. We're working. I mean, you see,
Right.
I'm getting home to work. We're busy
Right.
at work. I mean, I told Mike Molstead, I said, Mike, not that he's against getting a director. I'm just making the point of them, showing them we haven't had had a director in 20 years. So, what's,
What's the plan?
maybe the last couple of years there was a valid reason, but prior to that, like, what's the problem? Like,
Hmm.
we can't even talk during the day about a camp issue. We're busy. You're delivering oil. I'm helping customers all day.
Hmm.
I mean, it's hard, and we're gonna run a camp. Like, there's no way. This is not our job. Our job
Right.
is to um
To be the
is
board.
is to be on the board, is to
Yeah.
right, is to I
Be
can't
the
think of the
support.
word, like
To be the support.
yeah, to be the support, oversee, making sure things are running right, having accountability to a person or persons that are actually running it and doing it either part-time or full-time and are there dedicated. That's their job.
Right.
Like, that's not my job, and it's become my job, or not my specifically,
Yeah.
but ours and 10 others or
Hmm.
whatever. It's really not how it's supposed to be. And so I want to get to that point where but from now till then, it's a big jump and a leap of faith at this
Right.
point because um well, number one, we don't really have a proper place for them to live. We
Right.
lost the big house, so not that that was anything great. I mean, Dave, when he was there, it seemed relatively okay to live. um but it's it's obviously it's not it's not something. And then and so and we did make on the bottom floor at the end where the old cabins used to be. It was,
Mhm.
what was that, 7 and 8?
6 and 7. No, 6 and
Yeah,
7.
or 6 and 7.
Mhm.
We did make a little apartment on the bottom floor. I don't know if you saw that, Dave, when you were there.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Okay. At the end now, it's on, if you go to the very end, the way there was a cabin, the left side is one big room, and we left some plumbing in there for maybe a sink or whatever, something where you can have, obviously the bathroom's still there, but then right after that, it's one big room, and on the right side, there's two relatively decent sized rooms. So there's at
Right.
least some sort of apartment there. So if we had some, we could use that for at
Right.
least for now. And then
Is
the
it
upstairs,
okay.
uh, I,
No, that's what I was gonna ask you. So that's just the
no,
downstairs.
that's just the downstairs. Now the
Okay.
upstairs we didn't finish, but we were gonna do the same thing. I
Okay.
mean, it's it's an unfinished apartment. Like
Yeah,
it's
sure.
there, but it still has the 70s paneling on it. It's just not,
Right.
it's not complete, but on the right side upstairs, you could sleep there, and we do have the cook sleep there, and whatnot. This way there's some privacy for the lodge, for the groups.
Sure.
And then the left side has storage, and it's like tiles and stuff like that. So I mean, we could use that if we needed to, but
Mhm.
personally don't think it's a proper place for somebody full time to live. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it could work for a couple,
Yeah.
but even that,
Just
I don't
getting
know.
started.
Like I'd rather have a place.
Sure.
So my idea was to maybe make one of those cabins a permanent place. Like one
Mhm.
is somewhat done. The inside is done. It's dirty, but it's done. The outside would just clean up. It has a new
Mhm.
roof, um, but it doesn't have any plumbing anymore. And then the other one completely needs to be done. Now, my idea was to make that an apartment. Now, the guy that okay, so let me back up. So now we have a contractor that we really love and trust. That he finished the lodge for us. He's great. He
Okay.
I guess he saw the video of the camp. He sees there's potential to have the
Mhm.
camp back. I talked to him personally. He seems like a great guy, and he's done stuff for us for free. He's done
Wow.
stuff for relatively cheap. Um, and he's very reliable, and he's great. And I
Mhm.
trust him, and he said the other cabin was not worth putting money into it. He says, for the amount of money it's going to cost you to do that, you could just make something from scratch.
Hmm.
So I'm
And
like,
he's talking
oh
about the
man.
old cabin 4?
Yeah. And he says, and you could make it the way you want, like
Right.
for a person to live properly, instead of piecemealing this cabin. And
Right,
because
right.
it's small anyway. If
Yeah.
we made it, who's going to fit in there anyway? Like a
Yeah. Yeah.
couple with, now we're limited to only a couple, no kids, or whatever, so it it might not be the best idea to do that. So we have to now think of another plan and have so anyway. So that's, I don't want to make a long story short. So we don't even have really the greatest place for someone to stay. So that's
Okay.
one problem we have. um a solution I came up with then was, well, what if we had somebody that lived locally, and
Mhm.
they didn't live on campus but worked at the camp,
Right.
or worked at home part-time, and then they came to the game when they needed to and go back and forth. There's
Right.
somebody relatively in the Albany-ish type area, I guess, up until as far as Albany. I mean, you don't want to drive more than a half an hour or so
Right.
to run back and forth to the camp. So that's an idea, that I had, for now, until we see what we could do. And they could work at home. They could maybe think of ideas to get groups, um,
Mm.
start to put together a summer program, this, that, in between. So that's another idea. Um, Ronnie came to me with an idea of having his son live there. His son is 22 years old. To
Okay.
stay there while he's working at a job, and to stay there, and he could do maintenance, and you don't have to pay him. It just so we can have a place to stay.
Right.
So I thought, oh, that's a good idea. The board, nobody but me liked it. I mean, they
Why? It's
didn't
someone right
really.
on campus.
Yeah, I know. And they had reservations. Everybody except me, I guess. I guess I didn't see it, and I could
Hmm.
understand from their view. I mean, Rich Prince is on the board now.
Yeah.
He even thought, was like, wait a minute, you know what it is? I guess I have to step back and think about it. It is kind of a in the woods type of area. You're not around people a lot. You're by yourself. He's 21 years old. Like, does he have a girlfriend? What if he gets a girlfriend? He's
Mm,
there in the dark. What if there's a bear? What if this? What if that? Like, he's 21 years old. I guess I didn't think of that too deeply.
mm.
What if he's on a ladder, he falls?
Right.
I
Right.
don't know. It's just so I don't want to talk too much. I want to ask Dave
Mm.
his thoughts of all this now that I kind of threw out kind of the scenario of what we're up against here with in our interim,
Yeah.
you know. So what do you think, Dave? You have any
Well,
thoughts?
yeah, I mean, the basic thing is, I think sometimes camps, especially boards, because I'm on a camp board now too, and we're looking for a director, and so you're always in a hurry to get that solved. Uh,
Mm.
we're doing. I've got two people right now with our camp that we've already done one interview, and we got another interview, and they normally are younger, without experience, and they're starting on the bottom with their finances and stuff, and they don't have housing. We were there. We were 28 when we went to Sunshine Acres. But the thing is, after all the years of being involved in three different camps, I would say the first thing you got to always remember: retreats book. As long as you have a facility and you have the outreach, you're going to book up those weekends. You've got to go at it that way, in my mind, and you've got to make the housing available, whether you put up a temporary trailer in there or something like that,
Mm.
where you would just
Mm.
go in
Oh, I didn't think
and
of that.
you just put a behind the pool there, or something like that, or some other place that it's a little bit remote,
Right.
Right.
and put some power and sewage, where because you're going
Right.
to have hookups there, but I don't think that's a
Mm.
big issue as much. When I became director of Camp Pinnacle, I didn't have any housing. I stayed in one of the of our big lodge. I stayed in one room. Jenny and I just stayed in that one room with a double bed. And because I
Oh.
was working, I was doing 15-hour days anyway in the office. So and Jenny was going back and forth. So we didn't have a need for a big house on camp.
Mm.
Right.
And
Right.
my time there, we never did take a house because we didn't have a need for it.
Huh.
Oh.
And so I I think there's ways around that, but a director is the pulse of the camp. It
Yes.
just is. It's just the pulse of the
No
camp. I
doubt
mean,
about
I
it.
know when I was at the Acres, I had a very great board. I mean, the board was fantastic.
Right.
Mm.
The board was on edge at times between their committees, which is great because they fought for what they believed in.
Mm.
Laurie's dad with retreat
Yeah.
seasons or 3 seasons, he believed in 3 seasons. And the summer camp, believed in summer camp. And that's where we had board meetings that had differences of opinions at times, but that's what you do. But
Right.
Mhm.
those men and women on that, Hilda Shank, I stayed at her house for many years when we went down for board meetings. Artie Clegg was my best friend.
Oh.
Mm.
He just always cared about how I was doing up there, Jenny and I.
Mm.
But I had Joe Johnson the same way, Mr. Smith, Bill Fifield, you could name it. We had board members that invested in the camp and invested
Yeah.
in us. Jim Kelleher was the one that brought me to camp.
Mhm.
He's the one that wrote the letter. So we had a board in those days that was very committed. Mr. Earhart,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
it goes without saying. He was kind of the litmus test with me. He could be harsh on me at times, but that's what I needed that. I needed that as a young man. And but I had ideas. I was creative. I just had an idea where I wanted to take an underprivileged camp. I had
Yeah.
never worked with a free camp in the summertime. It was
Mm.
exciting for us, you know. And so but the retreats back at the acres was always the core of getting the money in the camp.
Yes.
Right.
Which,
Absolutely.
you know, and back
And
in those
we
days,
recognize that.
yeah, but retreats are not hard. When I went to Pinnacle, we had the same problem. They had lost all their bookings because they weren't clean. Things weren't done to the standards that I would expect. And I actually took the staff out the first day that I became director and took them down to the entrance of the camp. And I said, "What do you see?" And they had blinders on their eyes. They didn't see anything. I said, "I see junk. I see junk. I see what everybody drives up this driveway sees right now."
Right.
Just think about that when you come into this
That's
entrance
right.
here. What do you see? And we walked all the way through camp and we cleaned the camp up, and we booked that camp up so heavily that year. It's not
Wow.
hard to book retreats when
No,
you
and
have something to book. It's
And
just
I
not.
tell you, we're not even trying, and people are calling us for
Oh yeah.
books. So I mean, we're not obviously fully booked or anything close, but the fact that we got any bookings, we're not even on Google
Right.
Map. Like when I first came on the board, it's still not even the case. I'm like I didn't even realize we weren't even on Google as far as like a free, sign up, because one of the volunteers is like, I tried to Google Sunshine Acres to get the directions of what I couldn't even
Yeah.
find it. And I'm like, I immediately knew what he was talking about. I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked, and sure enough, we're not signed up as on the
It's
side
not
of
there.
the, no,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah, it's
there.
not there.
So, I
It's
mean, the
not there.
fact that we're even on the map at all and we're on the radar of anybody is
Right.
amazing. So I know what you're saying about the bookings. I know if we just gave it a little effort, it would just be booked. So
And the thing,
I'm not worried about that.
the basic thing you have to remember in marketing
Yeah.
is very simply the past. Most people don't remember.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there and trying to say, well, we need to go off this because we had this problem, people don't care. They just don't care. I mean, we had that problem at Pinnacle, and I went and interviewed 3 or 4 pastors in our area. They had never heard of Pinnacle, and it's the oldest women's camp in America. See, and this
Wow.
is how things go away so fast. And you
Yes.
just have to put yourself out there. I work now with a primitive camp with just rustic cabins, and we've gone back to a Bible conference, pretty much like Camp of the Woods. I believe they're still doing Bible conferences up there.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
book from July 4th right to Labor Day. We have 8 weeks of Bible camp for
Wow.
families, and we're booked solid in 2 years. And the
Wow.
camp's been there for 50 years. And we just have redone our board and
Yeah.
just, and people want to come.
Yeah.
And it's just very simple. But you got to have somebody at the pulse. And we had a
Yes.
new director 2 years ago. We hired a young guy that had been, like you guys, had come through the camp. Great director. Johnny has done a great job, but he just feels like he wants to move on now after 2 years, which is common. And we just basically, we wish him well. But the thing is, you want that kind of spark plug in your camp.
What are you
Shirts,
doing to advertise to get a
Advertise.
director? That's why I wanted to ask you.
they've come to us
Oh, well, how would they know that you're looking for one?
because there are people that have come to that camp for a lot of years.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Because I'm
never had it.
wondering, I'm wondering if I don't know. I've been out of the employment market for many, many years. I don't know anything as far as modern technology looking for jobs. Is it Indeed? Those type of
those things
websites?
are there, but it's like Jim Kelleher. He found us. You know how he found us? He went to a
Yeah.
directors meeting and he talked to my old boss at Camp Pinnacle, because Ginny and I had met at Camp Pinnacle and got married there. And he says, you need to hire Dave. And he says, he's out in Michigan and I know he has a good job, which I did, but he says, I think you can entice him. And
Wow.
Jim, and
That's funny.
no, and Jim, I said, I didn't even know where Sunshine Acres was. I had
Sure.
never been in the Catskills. So it was
Right.
quite an intriguing, I came down for the interview and yeah, we loved it.
So you
But,
didn't grow up in New York then? You're a Michigan guy?
I'm a Michigan guy.
Oh,
That's that
wow.
state up north, Laurie. That's that team.
Don't even.
3.
All right. Well, here's an idea. What about what's that Christian college? Not Camp
King's,
Lord. No,
King's
not King's.
College?
It's in New York State. Word of
Right.
Life. Now I
Word
know
of
they
Life.
have a whole Word of Life camp there, but
Right.
there's got to be kids graduating that need jobs. I think it's
Yeah,
just
there
a
are.
2-year Bible college.
Oh,
So
okay.
why
Maybe
aren't
we could, yeah,
yeah,
I'll look
like
into that.
throw some bait out there. Now I
Okay.
don't know of too many other Christian colleges anymore in New York because I mean King's went belly up, Nyack's gone belly up.
Yeah.
Yeah, practical. Davis College is gone now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
What
tore
about like
right down.
Houghton? Is Houghton still up and running?
Houghton's up and running. That's where
Oh.
Ginny went. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ginny went to Houghton.
Where is Houghton located?
It's
Is that
out
in
by.
Westchester or?
No, that's
No.
way out. That's way out north of Jamestown area.
Oh,
Way out
West
in
New
the
York.
southern tier. Yeah, in the
Oh,
southern
West New
tier.
York. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that could be another one to look for someone who's in.
Look in
And
the
I would-
colleges. Yeah.
Yeah, who's in a program for like some kind of leadership in a biblical realm. I know there used to be a major called Christian education, and it was not teaching in a Christian school. It's about it's very thing being in charge of a Christian organization, and how do you do that biblically, logistically, manage your family with it. So if we can kind of find a college with a major that will
I
kind
could
of
reach out to the colleges and see if there's people
yeah,
that it could be a job placement thing and
right.
maybe get somebody out of a college.
Or
I would
Liberty.
also contact Christian Camping. I think they call it 3CA now, but
Okay.
because they usually have a network of job
Yeah.
descriptions, people looking
Well,
for job.
yeah, we used to belong to CCA, right?
It's
Christian
3CA,
Camping.
yeah,
I doubt that
It's
we're still
3C.
in. Oh, it's
Yeah,
3C now. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
doubt that
3CA.
we're affiliated with them anymore. Because I remember it was
It's
a lot of money.
expensive.
Yeah, it was expensive.
It's based on your budget. It's based
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
budget. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
there's resources out there, but I still believe the word of mouth so often. I mean,
Right.
we got an interview
Sure.
with a guy up this way. He's from Ohio, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he's from this area, upstate. His family is, so he wants to come back,
Mhm.
and so we've got an interview sometime in the next month with him. But the point is, there's people always have interests.
Yeah.
A lot of time it's glorified. They don't
Right.
really understand it, but that's part of the process. It's
Sure. Now
you know.
going back to the Ronnie Sun situation, everybody agreed that if there was a director and he was working in conjunction with them, they would have been okay with that. They just didn't feel comfortable with him being there alone,
Right.
and it had nothing to do with he could have the greatest character, but they were all thinking like,
Safety.
if I was 21, I don't know if I would want to be there. I would trust myself
Right.
at 21. And so I get it. I get what they're saying. But if I was just tunnel vision, just looking at it from a view, like somebody needs to be there. Like you just can't have an empty camp with no one there. I mean, I'm thinking, New York State, there's these, you got these people that will just, what do they call those? That would squat I'm
very,
thinking of
very,
squatters.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of like
yeah.
all sorts of bad scenarios. Um, yeah, and so that's where I was looking at it from. But I don't think they were opposed to. They were open to the idea of even just paying him and doing stuff at the camp, but not living there too. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think ultimately you're right. Like I think just having somebody there and cultivating the from a I think that was just my short term vision, just to have
Mhm.
somebody there in the meantime. But I think we really maybe just put our focus on a long term person, and just to
Yeah.
cultivate the ministry in as a whole, and
Right.
not
Right.
just looking for
The main
somebody just
thing,
to.
when I became director, um, we were involved in the local church down there.
You
We
were,
got
yeah.
very involved. Yeah, we got
Yes.
very involved with it. I ran the music program there for years, but I was also involved in the community.
Yeah.
Um, and
EMS.
yeah, right. I ran I was president of Ellenville Rescue Squad for years.
That's
Um,
right.
Yeah.
it I was highly involved in Ellenville for a reason. It put the camp where we got free busing to go to the circus. We got a lot of perks just
Yes.
by
Right.
being part
Right.
of the community. It had its downside on my end because some people thought I was taking too much of my time. Um, and,
Mhm.
and they didn't know me that I tend to be 120% worker. So, that's why I quit work at 59 because I was wore out by that point. But the point, well, I did.
Yeah.
I began to have kidney problems and stuff. So
Mm.
just from energy, I think all the time. It's just
Yeah.
the point. The point of the matter is it takes a highly motivated person to run a camp.
It
Yes.
does.
You got to be able to work with young people. You got to
Hmm.
be able to work with a lot of high school kids. High school kids
Yeah.
don't know a lot of things. I've
That's
got
right.
great stories I'm not going to share here, but people didn't, but people
Sure.
didn't even know how to do laundry or anything else.
Sure.
Mow
Yeah.
lawns. But that's all part of the beauty of watching them over the decades grow up
Right.
and doing so
Right.
much for the Lord in their, within their own lives. And I
Sure.
just, as an old director of the Acres, I look. Jenny and I are always we love to see how people have grown in the Lord.
Yeah.
Mm.
From the 80s, and
Yeah.
that's exciting to see.
It
It just
is.
is. It is, and I think sometimes, um, I our our church has a new pastor here the last 2 years. The pastor's wife, it was from Brooklyn. They came
Mm.
from Brooklyn, from a Baptist church down there that has never been a supporting church of the Acres.
Oh wow.
And yeah, but the pastor's wife had a mother in a nursing home. And I got talking to her one day, and she says, "We have this chaplain down there who is just a precious soul." And she goes, and I said, "Is his name Willie?" And Willie Mahaney was the chaplain. He had just taken.
Wow. That
That
is
was
amazing.
before all his medical concerns that he's had
Right.
Right.
lately. But
Wow.
he was so special to
Wow.
her mother and to their family because she had Alzheimer's and everything else. And
Right.
this is Willie Mahaney. I mean,
Does
of all
Willie know
things.
this story?
No, I have never told him. No,
He'll
I have
know now.
never. And that because
Oh.
I had, yeah, if he watches this, but it was just interesting, and it tells you how the world is so close together with some of this stuff. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I
yeah,
often
yeah.
I often wonder if I directly impacted someone, like either through my cabin or somehow, some way. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to know that. The chances of me finding that out are slim until we get to heaven. But I know that I was impacted in a lot of
Mm.
people, and how we just in different ways, spiritually, of course, but even just knowing, like you said, knowing things, all. I consider myself a little bit of a jack of all trades, and a lot of it had stemmed with camp.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Just learning how to do little things. I mean, I built my own deck here. I needed a new deck, we put, when I first got here in this house, I've been here 9 years or so. My wife wanted a hot tub because we lost our pool. We
Okay.
moved out of a house where we had an in-ground pool, and we didn't really want to spend the money on a pool because my kids could care less. They were at that age, and I didn't want to put a pool in. So we found a little hot tub, a used hot tub. So I put it on the deck, and then nobody used it. So I took
Yeah.
it off. But now the deck was all rotted. So I had to replace the
Right.
deck. But I knew how to do it. I knew how to
Right.
do it. And
Yeah.
because Jim Callagher, went upstate and he said, "We're building a deck. Just drop what you're doing this weekend. We're going to build a deck." And that deck on the at the dugout is what we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Which was a great deck. It was a
yeah,
fantastic deck. Yeah.
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 So I
But that
mean,
was Jim.
but that's him. I mean, the
Yeah,
next weekend's like, we're
he was
painting this room.
before he was before battery operated tools. He had a
Oh yeah.
cord, he had to plug in.
Oh, we
and
were
he didn't-
hammering
and
the nails in the
oh yeah.
thing, and he reprimanded me because I missed the hammer. I mean, I missed the nail, and
No.
Yeah.
I dented the deck, and I was like,
Oopsie.
"Oh, I'm sorry," and he's like, "No, no, no." He's like, if I was back in Amityville, I would have had to flip over the board and this and that.
Yeah.
He's like, but just this is how you do it.
You
And
know,
Roger Smith was that way with wiring. I learned so
Mm.
much of electrical work with Roger because he worked for the city, obviously, as an electrician for
Mm.
years, and he did the mayor's house and everything down there. And but he just taught you all the fine details of
Yes.
how
Oh,
a
that's
wiring
amazing.
job should look, and I learned an
Wow.
awful lot from him on those
Yeah.
years.
It's
Yeah,
great.
what was the board member's name? It was Earl something.
Mosley.
Earl
Dr.
Mosley.
Earl Mosley. Yep,
Yep.
Dr. J's principal when
really?
he was in junior high. Yeah, he was
Huh.
his godfather,
Well,
Dr. J's godfather. Yeah.
he's the one who told me when I was 13 years old. He said, "You're going to be a teacher." He said, "It's all
Mhm.
over you. You're going to be a teacher." And I was like, "Really?"
But you do have that personality to be a teacher.
Oh yeah.
Well,
You
imagine.
definitely do.
But it's
So I could see where he's, you
well,
could see
I
that.
was
you
I was
know.
a kid.
Yeah.
But at my daughter's wedding last weekend, she had a bunch of her little friends from elementary school on up, and one of the girls came up to me and said, "Mrs. Maley, it's because of you that I'm a teacher." And I was like, "Me?" She said, "Yeah, you don't know the impact you had." And just like you said,
Mm.
you rarely see the other side of it. But
Right.
she was telling me that when she was in fifth grade, she came and spent the day in my classroom. I don't even remember this. I
Ah,
was teaching third grade at the time, but she came and spent the day. She goes, and I knew right then, I'm going to be a teacher just like Mrs. Maley. And I was like,
wow.
really? And that meant the world to me to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a grown adult now. And she has 2 kids of her own, but
Yeah. Yeah.
just to hear it from the other side, I'm like, oh, so
Yeah.
the hours I poured into these girls who spent,
Yeah.
a million hours sleeping over at my house when the kids were little, and I'm like, oh, I did something
Yeah.
right.
Well, I know that Dave, you were my first director as a worker, but I didn't work there enough and the whole summer to get a major impact as I did with Mike Kelleher.
Sure.
And the next summer I worked there full time, and I think I was the next 3 summers. And between him and he was very hands on as far as contracting type stuff. And he really taught, like, the first, I think the first year, he's like, if you and Andy are gonna think you're just gonna do dishes and drive around the tractor, you have another thing coming. I got other stuff for you to do. And like, you think you're gonna be on maintenance and you're gonna goof around, the way you saw people in the past. He's like, that's not gonna happen. And I kind of took that as like, I guess deep down inside I was disappointed, that I'm now going to have to work hard. But ultimately, it made an impact on me, and I actually enjoyed, all the challenges that he gave me. We actually did the roof of that big house. We put a new set of shingles up there. which is still the same shingles. So it obviously lasted a long time. We did the deck, we did window, we did this, that, another thing. We did a lot of painting. So I learned a lot.
You did.
And it really made, it really gave me a lot of experience moving forward in my life after that. After that, I went to college. I got a degree, but I wound up not using it. I wound up buying a landscaping business, and I did that for 10 years until I got into my in-laws jewelry store. So
Sure.
I'm doing that, but yeah, it really made an impact on me.
I mean,
And
Laurie, and I'm not sure if she remembers this. We made a trip one day down to East New York, Laurie and I, and a girl, a camper, met Dr. Mosley because we had to take the camper home because of an incident with a boy. And the family called to bring her home. Do you remember this, Laurie?
No, not at all.
You were the counselor of hers.
Okay.
And I walked in the house with Dr. Mosley, and he had told me, he said, we're going to play good cop, bad cop, and you're the bad cop. And I sat down and we explained the situation where the boy had reportedly physically had touched the girl inappropriately. And we sent him home. That was a whole other deal. And then they wanted her down there. Well, her sister was a New York City cop, and they had a bunch of incidences that year with camps with this kind of activity going on. And she ripped into me just, well, and it was understandable. And Earl had talked to me about it. He goes, and then he started rebuilding. But in the meantime, Laurie's with this girl. They never separated Laurie from the girl, the camper. She was into another room.
Wow.
And all said and done, we actually put that girl back in the car with us and took her back up to camp to finish her session. And it was because of her, Laurie, and Dr. Mosley. They could see the love that this this lady right now, Laurie, had for that camper. And it'd be interesting to talk to that girl after all these years.
Yeah.
But you take the good and the bad with all that. I remember working with Eric Jacoby. He's one of my highlights of my life. How Priscilla Medina just never gave up on him.
No, she didn't.
She never gave up on him. Hugh didn't. Hugh Kirkland never did. And Martha. And I always remember sending him to bed at 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I just remember that because it was I had a minor in counseling in college, and I just knew enough that just to be dangerous. And I said, you're going to get about 3/4 through this, and you're going to say I'm quitting. And I said, I want you to come to me and holler at me and do everything you got to do at me.
Wow.
Because you're going to be so mad. Well, 10 o'clock came. I think curfew was 11, right? He
Right,
got to 10. He got to 10 because we kept doing a 15-minute every day.
Yeah.
And he finally, I can't do this, and it's all he just went. I said, all right.
That's funny.
All right, go back up there and put your feet up on the bed again, and we're going to finish this out together, and I'm going to support you. And I said, don't you understand the people around here love you and care about you? And he said, yeah. Well, I mean, look at him today out there.
Exactly.
And raising his family.
Unbelievable.
And I just, I marvel at the patient that our God has with all of us, just working with other people. He just gives us that insight sometimes because we're not that smart, but we somehow we say the right things to people, and
Dave, you were so wise in that instance, because if you had sent Eric home, you would have been sending him right back into that situation. And I've always thought you were so wise to keep him there, but send him to bed at 6 o'clock. But just And then I remember yelling up at him during snack time because we all had our snack right in that little area by the hill, and he'd be at his window yelling down at us. And even then, I was like, that was really smart not to say
Well, but camp is supposed to have a little bit of levity and discipline, and there was levity in that. I was kind of having fun with them a bit. Yeah, but you can do this. Sometimes you just gotta, it's like, raising your own kids. Sometimes you just feel like laughing sometimes when they're going through stuff a little bit. You kind of chuckle. The grandkids especially. I mean, I've had all the grandkids now come up through high school and they're in college or married or what. But the point of the matter is, there's some humorous things that happen when you're disciplining people. That you're not making fun of them. You're just kind of going, okay, let's get over this. But it's that way with husband-wives relationships too. Sometimes you say the stupidest things to each other. Yeah, you do. But I think Sunshine Acres for Ginny and I has always been. It was one of the best experiences of our lives being down there in the 80s. We talk about it often. It was a building block for us.
Yes.
There were some tough times for us, as far as the church even went through some terrible times down there where I was chairman. We had a new pastor down there that went on to be the president of Clearwater Bible College, Jack Clem. And we've always been very good friends of his over the years. It's just, it has put some building blocks there. And it just really has. And, there's just so many of you, except for the girl on the bottom here. I don't know what it is with Columbus, Ohio, but that's okay. I can deal with it. I got a nephew.
Florida now.
I know. I've got a nephew in Troy, Ohio. I hate going out there because I go to his church and he makes fun of me. And, he's from, it's just part of being an uncle.
Dave, let me ask you a question. When you were living there, how did you work out going to church like on Sunday mornings while there was a group going on? I always wondered that because that was a battle between with some of the directors after Mike, and when I was involved with the board, and there was a little bit of a I'm not sure what to do situation with that, because I mean you obviously want to be there for the group, but you have this, you can't miss church every week. How did you work that out?
I never missed church very often unless there was an issue. Ginny was the cook during retreats.
Right.
So she was always at camp. I would go down, take our kids down for Sunday school, stay there. Sometimes I would drive back up. It depended on the size of the group. When they were eating, I would make a trip, drop them off. Sometimes I'd stay for Sunday school. Church, I expected the kids because I was choir director. I'd come in, I would rehearse. I never saw the kids. They were to sit in the second row in the front, and I would always come up on the platform. And there they were. Naomi was trying to keep Michael under control, and I would give him that stern look. And we would do church, and then we'd go back up, and most of the meals were at 1:00. And so we were back up there, and Ginny had everything ready. We didn't miss anything because there was a meeting normally in a retreat during the morning. We were there for breakfast normally. And
so
then
you would just make lunch at 1:00 then on
most
Sunday.
Time lunches were at 1.
That makes sense. Then you just do
and
it
then
that way.
The summer, I basically we did not go to church for the period of the camp.
Well, now because you have church there. Yeah. It was a church there.
Yeah. So I would explain that to the pastors. They would get a little confused sometimes because I just took the summer off down there.
Right.
And but because I was always in charge of the Sunday service, that was the program director's morning off. If you remember right, they didn't have to, they didn't. I did flag raising on Sunday morning and all that stuff for Hugh or Ronnie or whoever, or Chrissy, whoever was there at that time.
And
That
you
was
went
their,
to Washington Christian? Did you go to the
yeah.
Washington?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you guys were involved though during the week, like I'm not sure. Was it
Wow.
Pioneer Girls? Like I know you had your kids in the activities.
The kids were in
Or
Awana. The kids were in
Awana.
Awana on Friday night.
Okay.
Ginny taught there. She
Mhm.
taught kindergarten down there um,
Mm.
when we were there. Naomi went to kindergarten in Ellenville and then first grade at the academy. And
Okay.
I was on the school board for all the years too. But yeah, it
Wow.
was always
Okay.
very active in the church. It was a good outlet for us.
Yeah.
You can do camp, but the church was
Sure.
always an outlet.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, camp
yeah,
is a
Like you said.
revolving door, so you're not getting the accountability and the consistent friendship that you would at a church.
Right.
and that was the reason why we
Right.
left. Where the Naomi was going into seventh grade, and Washington did not have an academy, and we had to
Hmm.
make a decision there to keep her in Christian ed or
Mm.
to go into public school.
Right.
And then Jenny's mother passed away in '86, and
Mm.
her father, by about 2 years later, really needed my wife's
Mm.
um, just have somebody nearby him a
Sure.
little
Sure.
bit. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and that really helped there. So it was a decision that needed to be at that point. I know
Sure.
we had offers. Dr. Mosley talked to me about putting it back into what Howie Michelson had done with running the retreats and not the summer. I said it's never, and I said I've never believed in that, and I didn't. I
Mm.
believe that a director needs to be 12 months a year for
Mm.
Mhm.
consistency. And it was nothing against Howie because he started everything, and
Hmm.
he
Right.
did a great job with all that. But we were far beyond that at that point.
Mm.
Because
Right.
the camp needed that consistency there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, there's definitely openness to changing things around. I mean, we realized, even Ronnie said when he came back in the early 2000s that camp, to get kids to come up to camp the way it was back then it was a lot harder.
Yeah.
And you would think
It's
a
changed.
free camp, but you would get people, but it wasn't that way.
No.
And
Mm.
but which is a surprise to me. I mean, my son went to Deerfoot Lodge, and
Hmm.
yeah, I had to sign up in the fall, and there was a waiting list. I mean, the day of,
Wow.
I'm spending $1,500 a week on this camp, and there's a like I have to like make phone calls, and I gotta get online and do all these things so the day of to get
Right.
him into this camp. And it's nothing to write home about. I mean, they do have a lake, but besides for that, there's nothing
It's
there.
rustic. Yeah.
It's
Mm.
Yeah.
rustic.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
they have a tradition. They have their traditions. They have a long-standing director that's there, and he loved it. And it's very, it's very strong. It's a very strong camp, but there's nothing grand about it. They don't have horses. They don't have things like Word of Life
No.
say would have, and it's packed. But they only have that's it. They only have a summer program. That's it. They
Right.
don't. It's
Mm.
closed down during the year. The director, I think he's a teacher or something, and you know, he
Yeah. The director was Chuck Geezer, and he lived
yeah,
in
Chuck.
Greenville. Yeah.
That's
And
right.
he lived in Greenville because he was one of my closest director
Oh,
friends
so
that
you
I
know,
had.
so you're
Oh, I know
familiar
Chuck.
then.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no.
he's a great guy.
Mm.
I mean, and
Yeah.
and they run a great program, and my son loved it. He went there for years. I mean, he even thought of working there this past
Yeah.
summer, but he got involved with other stuff. But it definitely made an impact on his life. And
Yeah, well, no,
yeah,
and then you have camps like Pinnacle had 5 acres of paintball, 20 horses, a
right,
motorcycle camp,
Right.
uh, 800 acres of everything,
right,
ropes and everything else. You name it, we had it at that camp.
right,
But the biggest change in camping when I went from the '80s up to 2015, 14, when I became director up there, was that the parents were different.
Yeah.
The parents could not
Yes.
let go of their kids. The
Well,
parents
I
had to
wanted to
have
mention.
emails.
I
Yeah,
wanted
that
to
was a
mention
big thing.
this to you. When my son went there, he was not allowed to bring his phone at
Yeah.
all. Not even bring it with him and hide it
Mhm.
away. Nothing. So he
Huh.
was without, and he was fine. He was totally fine. And so that's been a conversation that I've heard. Uh, I'm a believer in that. I think you're at
Mhm.
camp. You should, you
Well,
know,
the kids don't care about their parents when they get to camp.
exactly. It's the
Yeah, I
parents
mean,
that care. They go like,
the
oh,
kids get involved, and
right,
they're, parents
right,
who the parents are
right.
the ones that are going through the withdrawal. I mean,
That's
they
right.
just do.
Right.
We have a camp now that has no phone, has no internet,
Mm,
and
Wow.
it's you sit in front of a fire and you sit and just relax. You know what that means to
and think.
people when it takes them about 2 days, just
Yeah.
2 days to sit and just talk, play some volleyball, go down to the
Yeah,
beach,
yeah,
do
yeah.
things like that together as
Right. Just
families. Yeah,
check
they
out.
love it
Yeah,
after they get.
yeah.
It takes them about 2 days. Our
That's
Huh.
funny.
pastor, when he's been
Withdrawal.
preaching up there, he comes out on the deck of the speaker's cabin and he's sitting there looking at his phone and it's not working. And he says, "I don't know what to do." I said, "Well, put it down and leave it alone." You know,
That's right.
you know. But it took him about 2 years to get through that. But that's part of the process.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
every camp has
Yeah, yeah.
its different models it uses. And it just
I think
yeah,
up until like 6 or 7 years ago, Camp of the Woods had dismal internet. So it was like just put your phone
yeah.
away. It wasn't even worth
Yeah.
trying to like make it work at the time, you know.
Yeah,
Dave,
I mean, we've got, yeah, yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to ask you, would you recommend, I'm just sitting here thinking as you guys are talking, do you see us being able to do 3 seasons and the summer program all at the same time? Or should we start off doing the 3 seasons and really get our feet under us there and then do a summer? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know what the thing is, once you get certain groups in the summer, if you're going to book those weekends in the summer, how are you going to take that away from them when you want to run your own camp?
Well,
And
no, no, that's what I
you,
mean. Like, just do 3 seasons,
but
like,
so you're
But
not going to
then,
book the summer.
and
See,
don't book
summer
the
is,
summer.
well,
well,
I would think you'd want to, but you've got to have some commitments to these groups once you get them in. That's the problem that Pinnacle has, because it has 3 campuses, and so when you're booking retreats, because you book groups of 300 people in there,
right,
and then you have your camp across the road with all the activities they have, and you have over 125 kids there, but they all use the same kitchen for the dining room. So you
right,
got to coordinate all that. And the thing is that you've got to have the resources. And to
right.
me, I would run
Yeah.
a camp in the summer. I would start it slow. You're going to have to figure out your delegates with your churches is your biggest
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Is how your churches are going. That's a big operation that Mrs. Ellis always did so well.
Well, my idea, and I think other people have this also, is to start with one session and have
Mhm.
volunteers just to feel it
Just to get
out.
it going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
You
to
know.
get it going. And you fill up that one weekend, and then the rest of the summer you book groups of
Yeah.
churches.
You
And
mean
I
And
fill it
think,
in
then
one session, like 10 days?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. You said one
yeah.
weekend, but that's not what you meant.
Yeah, I meant like one
And then you're
session.
going to get on your health department. You're going to have a summer camp for that one time that you're going to do an overnight camp. You still have to meet the criteria there for lifeguard, for
Right,
nursing, and all of that. And
Right.
then you're going to have your temporary residence for your retreats year
right,
round anyway, which you do. So
which I do.
yeah, you've got to hire different staff there when you're
Yeah,
doing an
you
overnight
can't.
camp.
Yeah,
You
you would
can't get
have
around
to.
that.
Yeah, you would have to. Obviously, you would just may have to get either part volunteers, and some you may have to pay, and just be able to just to fill that week up to. That's my idea.
Right.
Sure. No, but that's where it needs a director, because you still got to
Yes, to
coordinate that
coordinate that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
because
right.
I used to spend hours preparing for a board meeting,
Mm,
regardless, because it was
Right.
up to me to present the new stuff,
Right.
to be working on all that stuff, and to give that to the board members. Because
Yeah.
again, as you say, they're all working regular jobs.
Right.
They have their interest in the camp. They'll give their free time what they
Right.
have, but you really need to
Right. But
keep them
your
up to
time is
speed.
limited. Right. Your
Yeah,
time is
yeah.
limited.
yeah.
It's up to
See, and
that
Jim
full-time
Kelleher,
person.
right, and Jim Kelleher had me always involved in 3CA, or in Christian camping back then. I was the president of New York State
Mm,
camps. I was the Eastern Regional Clerk, and I spoke at national conventions. And that was
mm,
mainly that Jim wanted me to do that. I
Mm,
was I
mm.
spoke on maintenance seminars. I spoke on underprivileged camps. I held
Mm.
seminars on
Oh,
that.
wow.
But
mm,
it got me involved with a whole different network of people,
right.
that I met him back at Camp Pinnacle when I went to a camp thing at Loudonville Christian Church. There was like 6 camps there, and all the people knew me, but I was old, but Dave, are you still in camping? Yeah, okay, I am. I don't know why I am, but here I am. But
Because
the
it's in your
point
blood.
was, the camping community is pretty strong and pretty tight together.
Good.
Okay.
A lot of them have closed, a lot of them have restarted. The 90s were terrible in camps, and
Mm,
a lot of them suffered greatly.
mm.
The Acres was about 10 years behind, and then
Yeah.
it finally went through its stuff. But Pinnacle
Mm.
almost closed in the 90s, in the late
Wow.
90s, you know,
Mm,
because they were trying to be like hotels,
right,
and they were
Mm. Interesting.
trying to do that thing instead of just being a camp.
Right.
right,
Yeah,
right.
and I think it was a lesson for a lot of people, on that level. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
All right.
Well,
So that's
But
good.
yeah, a lot to think about.
well, you guys are on the right direction.
Yeah.
You've got to, if you get Rich, I'm glad you have Rich Prince on there. I thought he, in the Zoom meeting, had something to offer. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
remember him that night, and I think that Zoom meeting, you could do that again for people, and just
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to
Definitely
talk
want
it
to
up.
do that again,
Yeah,
and just have everybody on as like a live stream.
yeah.
That would be a
it's
good
not
idea.
it's not that hard to do. I mean, if
No,
I
it's
can
not.
do it, if I can do it here, I'm doing fine.
But just send you a link, right? It's easy.
So yeah, wasn't too bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
good seeing you both. I
Yeah.
You
um
too.
Excellent. Yeah,
Dave, would
definitely.
you close us in prayer?
I can do that. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Our
Thank you.
dear Lord, we thank you for um, your graciousness to us,
Mm,
your
Mm.
leading. And that you prick our heart through the Holy Spirit to all of us. We think of the past here with so many, like Laurie's dad through the years, and Mom, and all of the ones that have come before us, Lord. And we think of um, Mike Kelleher tonight, and all the past directors, and Ron Mahaney, the program directors, and
Yes.
we miss, during COVID, Chrissy Mahaney, Martha
mm,
Kirkland, over the ones that we lost during that period
Yes.
of time, Lord.
yeah.
They're very precious souls to us, Lord. We just
Mm,
ask you to be with the board, and it's good to have Charlie here tonight, Lord, and
Yes.
just direct their paths, and not be
Yes.
afraid of
mhm,
it, but just to go forward as Paul did, and everything that he did on his trips. The Apostle Paul, just put your foot forward and just keep moving, and the Lord will guide your paths. And
Mm.
we just ask this in your name. Amen.
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 Good seeing you both.
All right, Dave. Yeah, it's good to
Yeah,
see you. And thank you so
right.
much for giving us all this advice. And
Yeah. Good wisdom.
it's definitely going to make an impact on our decisions, and just all the little nuanced things that I needed to
Yeah,
hear
yeah. Don't be
from
afraid.
someone.
Use Ronnie. I think about
Yeah.
Ronnie's son. I'll just leave it with this. Remember, we brought Ronnie when he was single into campus program director,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
we were there. We were there, and
Yeah.
Ron and Jennifer got started back in those days. But the
Yeah.
point was, I think there is a wise decision there. Sometimes it is a remote area,
Right.
and you just need to be considering those things. And
Yeah, it wasn't a no. It just that they had a lot of questions and they weren't sure, and
yeah,
I
well,
understand.
no,
So
no, but
we'll
Ronnie
see.
is
We'll see
such
how.
a great person. I'm so pleased with him right now.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's Glaze.
All right. Good
All
night.
right. Have a good
Well,
night, guys.
good night,
Thank you.
All
everybody.
right. Take
Bye now.
care. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dave is so, what is the word? He's
Oh,
so full of wisdom, and we've got to tap into that.
yeah. Now, before he came up on the weekend, I didn't realize how much he still kept involved with
Camping?
camping, Christian
Oh,
camping.
yeah.
I thought he was done with that. I didn't realize
No.
he went on to other camps. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah,
But
he
that's
did.
great.
I didn't realize he was only 28 when he came.
I didn't realize that
Oh,
either.
he was an old man.
I mean, I was like, what?
Hmm.
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, you don't think somebody's 28, like, and then he looked like an old man back
I
then,
know.
and he still looks relatively the
He
same. I
looks
mean,
the same.
yeah, he looks great.
I
I was like,
know. I
oh my
think the
gosh,
same.
yeah.
But I do think that's a really good idea well, two things. I don't think my question was understood. This is what I'm wondering. I like your idea of not doing a summer camp full-fledged the first summer, but doing
Right.
like
You
one
can't
summer.
have, right. If it doesn't book, then you're gonna have all these people working there, and there's gonna be like,
Yeah,
20 people, 20
doing
campers. There's
nothing.
gonna be just
Mm-mm.
as many campers as their staff, and it just doesn't make sense.
Right. I feel like this summer, well, we've got to hire a director. And then
Yeah,
this summer, I mean, does Ronnie still have his lifeguard?
I doubt it.
Yeah, but how hard would it
Why
be
would
for him
he?
to get it?
Oh, yeah, that's not hard. But I mean,
But I'm
yeah,
saying if we could do it and not have to pay people, like
right.
I'm happy to come up and cook for 10 days. I can
Yeah,
do that,
same. I'm
you
happy to
know?
come there and run things.
Yeah.
Um, I know. Well, something Dave mentioned, even just struck a chord for me, that I didn't even contemplate. Um, get a trailer, do whatever you got to do to get
Yeah.
somebody there. I was like,
That's a great
what? I
idea.
didn't realize that.
Put it
That's
over
a
by
great
where
idea.
cabin one, the boys cabin 1 and 2
Wherever,
used
yeah,
to be.
yeah.
That's a great
Like
place for it. It's out.
knock down that one building and then just put it there
No, no,
behind,
no. Put it away. Don't
or
put it
put
in
it
the
right, put it
middle.
in the woods, right where
Yeah.
the bears are.
Well, yeah, where the bears are. No, but if you put it
No,
up,
but
that's
I know
kind
what
of
you
like a
mean.
little
Like I'm
trail,
like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just depends on who we get. If we get one person, two people, like a couple, we could put them in the lodge. But I'd rather just have
No, no,
them
no. They
in
need to
in
be
a trailer.
away.
Put them in a trailer.
See, that's
No,
why, like
no, but you're
Christian,
right. Because schools do that all the time. They put a temporary
exactly.
trailer up for
Yep.
classrooms or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, if you
I
look
like
at
that.
like Christian education, Christian colleges, they will often have housing for married students. So
Yes.
you find, a couple who's interested in either going into the ministry or youth ministry or that kind of thing that knows how to manage teenagers. Like Dave said, they have to
Yes.
know how to manage teenagers.
Yes.
If we hire someone who's 80 and doesn't know what to do, forget it.
Yeah,
But
right, but you can't hire somebody who's 25 because
exactly.
they're a young kid too. I mean, unless
Yeah.
they're very mature or have some experience, but you have
Right.
to have experience and be swift. I mean, when you're up there, when you're 18 years old, you could be sneaky, and they need to be swift. Like Mike was swift.
Yeah.
He was able to pick up on things, and you're like,
Michael
you can't get
Swift.
away with nothing. No, but you need that. You can't have all these, these teenagers that,
Right.
you know, yeah, they could be Christians, but they're still sinners. And so
Well, yeah.
you need to be swift and keep them in line.
Um, what was the other thing Dave said that I liked? I completely forgot about that story until he reminded me.
Of
I
what?
completely
The
forgot.
kid going home.
Yes.
You
And
want to know something? Let me ask you a question.
what?
I remember a scenario where was it mass soccer, and that they like collided and fell on each other, and that's how the boy
I have
touched the
no idea.
girl or
I
something.
have no
I
idea.
remember that. I
Well,
remember that, and that was a bad situation, and the kid had to
yeah.
go home
Well, I
as a
remember
result.
as he was telling that story, I'm like, oh my gosh. I remember we were getting into the car to do
Mm,
this. And, logically, you would think Dave's driving, I would sit up front and put her in the back. And I went to open the door and I looked at Dave and I said, I'm sitting in the back with her.
mhm.
And that's what I did.
Wow.
And honestly, I don't even think then it was done intentionally.
Mhm.
I think, like he said, her sister was a cop and she
Yeah,
kind of had this stuff.
yeah, sure.
Um, but I do remember as he was telling the story, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Sitting in the back with her, and
Mm,
I just had my arm around her the whole time, just
wow.
loving her. And I remember when we got to the house, we were in a separate room, just her and I, like a little family room, a little den. And her mother brought us something to drink. And I just remember holding her and she was crying and she was like, but I want to come back to camp so bad.
Mm,
And I was like, wow,
yeah,
it really
that
made me
sucks.
doubt that something did happen.
Right,
And like I said, I do think something did, but I don't think it was intentional. I
right.
don't. But yeah, the parents let her come back.
Wow,
Isn't that wild?
that's wild.
But sometimes, you're a dad.
It
Sometimes you
happens,
just have to see your baby to know
Sure,
that they're
sure.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But
All
yeah.
right. Well, what else did I have as far as? Let me just look at my
All right, so I'm looking at,
board meeting notes. Oh, the health department inspection. We had a health inspection.
okay.
Um, so we needed to do a bunch of stuff in the cabins. Jimmy and his friend went up there and did all the little things that needed to be done. And he also, him and his friend also cleaned the garage out really good. So
Really?
yeah, I'll show you pictures.
Oh,
I'll
good.
put
Yeah.
pictures up here because
Okay.
Jimmy sent it to me, and I was like, "Wow, that looks really great," you know.
Yeah.
So he did a great job with that.
Mhm. What needed
Um,
fixed in the cabins?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know, but I knew the inspector was coming, but I didn't see what needed to be done. I mean,
Okay.
there was a leak still in the cabin, even though we did the roof and we addressed it with John Hurdle, and I think he went and addressed it. But I mean, there's always some little stuff here
Yeah.
and there.
Yeah.
There's always things, and the cabins. Oh, also too. Um, so on the side where the pool is, those cabins,
Hmm.
there was bees. I don't know if you saw the carpenter
Yeah.
bees.
Yeah. The
Oh,
big.
making holes in the cabins.
Yeah.
We had to pay a company to come and take
Get
care
'em
of it,
away.
and then they fill the holes in.
Okay, that's good.
So we had a professional. It was
Yeah.
something we couldn't do. We were trying, and the bees would come back. We needed
Mhm.
a professional to come there, and I just remember my house upstate. I was chasing all these ants and this and that, and it turned out the ants weren't even around the house; they were in the yard making colonies, and you had to address the root of it. Before
Right.
I
Right.
was chasing all these ants. Meanwhile, I wasn't getting to the root of the
Getting to the
problem.
root of it.
They just kept coming, and every time I go up there, it was more ants. So I think that might have been the scenario. You really had to get the root of the problem
Right.
with these bees that were eating the cabins, literally. I mean, it was terrible, but it's taken care of, thank God.
Now, what
And
is the board of health? Oh, go ahead.
so the board of health, it's different than the summer board of health. So it just
Okay.
needed, like, if well, we actually had it too in my house upstate. They make sure there's the fire hydrants, and the fire alarms are
Why
working
did you
and
need
this
that
and
at your
that
house?
in the cabins because we were using the cabins.
You said you had that at your house.
Oh, well, because we were renting our house out
Oh, I
upstate.
didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
upstate. Like when you rent out like an Airbnb or whatever,
Airbnb. Yeah.
they have to come and inspect your house, make
I
sure you have adequate exit exit signs. My wife was like drawing an exit plan
how
and
to
have
get
to
out.
having to post it on the wall of each
Right.
room. So you had to make a map of the house and where the exits are. So
Right.
it's little stuff like that. You have to have a fire extinguisher. You have
Hmm.
to have smoke alarms. The steps have to be, they can't be broken. You
Right.
need you need a railway, a railing.
A railing.
So it's just all those little things that need to be, looked at and make sure
Mhm.
that everything's working. So, and it's, same with the camp. If you're gonna like have groups, it has to be safe.
Right. Now, what
So,
do you think about the big house? Are we going to pass?
so we have a lead.
Ooh,
We
okay.
have a lead. So one of the board members has a friend that, well, this is the last meeting, the last board meeting we had. He says, I have a friend who owes me a big favor.
Yes, love those
They
ones.
love that one, right? So we don't
Yeah.
know where it's going to lead to,
Okay.
but it's a lead.
Mhm.
And, he's a contractor or whatever. And he wanted picture. So he says, get me pictures of the big house. I may have somebody who would be willing to take it down. So
Serious?
pray. Let's pray for
Totally.
this. So anybody on this who's watching this, um, you know, we need your prayers to pray for God to open doors for different scenarios, including this. This is a big one.
That's a
And
big
this is
deal.
something that we want to do. It's an eyesore. It's I think it's a
Danger.
little bit of a hindrance. It's
Yeah.
dangerous. We really would like that down. I mean, I, I I think a lot of people have a vision of having that down and putting maybe a pavilion up there.
Ooh, okay.
All right. So either a pavilion to sit down and just have
Mhm.
outdoor seating, or to
Yeah.
have a hockey rink, ice skating rink. I don't know, just whatever, something of
Yeah.
a little or big pavilion
Mhm.
for some sort of outdoor, either recreation or
That's
outdoor
awesome.
dining or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an idea. It's not the ideal spot to have a house. It's on a hill. The
Right.
water run. If you've stayed up at camp for a long time on big rainstorms, the whole basement floods. It's
Yeah.
not the best. It's not the best place to have a house. I mean, there was one time it rained so hard that the water was coming down the mountain and it was literally hitting the wall of that nurse's quarters. That's how bad it was. It was like I was like cringing. And
Yeah.
of course the basement was 5 feet of water. But that's been always the case. There's
Yeah.
no floor. It just absorbs right into the floor.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, unless there was some great drainage system and you really wanted to have something in the middle there. But
Yeah.
again, I think uh, maybe not a living situation should be in that middle spot.
Right.
I mean,
Mm.
because even if you wanted to have a place to live, who wants to live in a fishbowl and right in the middle like that
Yeah.
anyway? We always called it the fishbowl, where
Yeah.
where you're living there and everybody knows your business. It's nice to have, if a director or
Right.
somebody lived there, it would nice for them to be on the side and have a little privacy.
All right.
So,
Here's another question. So then that cabin 6, the end of the lodge downstairs,
mhm.
that could be the nurses' quarters
Yeah, it
because you
could.
can have beds in there for sick kids overnight or whatever,
Sure, sure.
right?
Yeah. Or
Okay.
you can make, yeah. I mean, that could be I'm thinking more of a program director, summer program director could live there if it him and
Okay.
his wife.
So you'd
Because
have to
I
pay
think
them
it's
direct.
too, not for nothing, but I think it's too good
For the
for
nurse.
a nurse's quarters. Like it's too big. You could
Yeah, but
live
where are you
there.
going to put? Go
I
ahead.
mean, you could have one of the rooms be a nurse's quarters.
Really? You think?
How much space do you really need for a nurse's quarters?
Um.
You're not living there. You're not. You just you stay there. I mean, you take
Yeah.
you take a bed. You take the main bed out. You put a table there
Right.
temporarily for the
Well, she's
summer.
going to need
It's only
something
two
locked
months.
for all the medicine.
Yeah, but that's how much medicine you gonna. You're not a doctor.
I'm
A
telling you,
couple of
my girlfriend's
band-aids. What do
a
you need,
camp
really?
nurse,
Come on.
and I'm telling you, my girlfriend's a camp nurse, and it's insane what they put you through. It's
All
insane.
right. Well, we'll see. I mean,
But
I'm not
okay,
thinking about that right now. But
no, I'm
yeah.
just
But
trying to. Okay.
But I
Um,
mean, you could have the upstairs too. I mean, you have the upstairs and the
yeah.
downstairs. So one could be a nurse
Well,
and one could be the program director.
yeah, but we have
But
to put, yeah, like the girls and the boys staff need a place to live.
yeah, yeah.
The lifeguard, the cooks, the
Well, that
arts and
would be in
crafts.
all the rooms.
Yeah, that's
You
what
have
I'm
all those
saying.
rooms.
Yeah,
Right. But
yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Okay, so wait, we gotta leave. Wait,
But
you're not gonna
anyway,
explain this.
let's go back to the big house.
Yeah.
So so the steps are you need a permit because there's a way you have electric that's still live there because we have the water the well there.
The well, okay.
Okay, so you have the well still there and it's working and it's feeding the whole camp. So
Okay.
you still have live electric in there, number one.
Hmm.
Number two, you still have a well in there that's feeding the whole camp. Now,
Right.
the well, it's interesting. The water seems to be more brown than there ever was, apparently. So they're wondering if the well is drying out. Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't we don't know enough about a well but we know that the water either A because we haven't used it enough in the last couple of years that it's now
Mm,
brown and it's maybe sitting, or I don't know, or
right.
B, it might be somebody thought maybe it was drying out. We don't know.
Okay.
But either way, the well is there and it's working, and so we have to consider that. And
Okay.
then we have to consider that we have to separate the electric for that or shut it off and then rewire it after we take the building down and then move. Technically, the pump is not under the building, it's next to the building. You know
Okay.
that, right?
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
right next to it. But there
Hmm.
are but we do have to protect it, and we have to take steps to do something to to have that considered when taking the building down.
Hmm.
So that's that. And then you have different types of materials in the building. So you have to maybe, I don't know if a permit, would require us to separate certain things,
Okay.
asbestos, we don't know. So there may be more than just, let's get a bunch of people and just knock the building down and throw them in
Yeah.
dumpsters.
No, there's a
I wish it
lot.
was that simple, but
Right.
it's too big of a building. It's a three-story building. They might have safety precautions that they want us to follow as well. So it would most likely have to be done with professional. I would imagine. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
imagine us just renting something and just start,
No.
going
No.
hag wild. So hopefully this lead would come to something where we
Yeah.
would have the right person and be willing to do it, and then have to get dumpsters, and so it's going to be a little bit of a cost involved, obviously, to just to take that down.
How's the money situation?
Well, we got a donation that I
Mhm.
told you about that
Mhm.
helped us get the pool going
Okay.
and helped us, get past bills paid.
Okay.
So that helped, and we still have some money left. It's not a lot, but and then we also got some money from the groups that we just had.
Okay.
So we're comfortable enough that we could get by for the till the next groups, and we're
Okay.
not going to be biting on nails worrying about paying the electric.
Right.
But we
Right.
certainly don't have enough. We need more groups to be able to comfortably feel like we could hire someone and get somebody into the camp, because it's not just getting somebody into the camp. It's getting them, like Dave talked about, getting a place for them to maybe having to rent or buy some sort of trail or get them in, and then it's a
Right.
little bit of expense. So there's that transition expense that we have to do, we have to consider when we hire someone. um
Yeah.
so that's going to be a leap of faith that we're going to have to deal with, and then quickly, hopefully they can get right on it and just start calling places. I mean, we're dying to call places, but we get home and it's like, oh, it's at nighttime. Who's that church? That's I have one day off really. I have Sunday, and I have, sometimes on Mondays I'm in the city. So I'm even working 5 or even 6 days a week. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to do this. And Sarah wants to do this too, but she's an accountant. She's working crazy hours. She's getting home. I mean, just to get to the board meetings sometimes is a
Oh, yeah.
rush. And
Yeah.
then, we're there till not 10 o'clock, 11. And it's like, oh, I got to get up for, so we're trying to hurry it up into our meetings, and get, what the information we need. And we don't have time to really sit there and just chat and ponder and just be able to,
Yeah.
freely throw out ideas as slow as we want to do that. It's
Right.
unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. um and that's where you need that full-time person to dedicate that time to do all
Absolutely.
that stuff. There's no way we can move forward and grow the camp without one.
Without a
I
doubt.
really don't think we can. I mean, we're just going to be always chasing our tail.
See, I feel like I know, and I can only speak from my church, First Baptist Church, as a child growing up, but we
Mm.
literally had 4 weekends a year at Sunshine Acres, our church. We had, well, the couples had a retreat, the youth had a retreat, the college and career had a retreat, and then we had family retreat.
Wow.
That was one church.
One church had
Four.
4.
Yeah. Now
That's
that's,
amazing.
yeah. And that's, I think, honestly, because my dad was on the board and he was always,
Yeah. But
but
also too, if you think about it, we're not far from the city in the metropolitan area. So it
no,
is an ideal spot to have a
absolutely.
retreat where you're not going 5 hours. I mean, the
Yeah.
Adirondacks is gorgeous. I love it. But you're going to drive 5, 6 hours
I
for a
know.
weekend.
Yeah. Not
It's
worth
kind
it.
of hard. It's kind of hard. So, we have the ideal spot as far as you're not
Yeah,
that far,
absolutely.
for a weekend retreat.
But we need to get people, pastors. I don't. Well, whatever
Yeah.
happened with Bruce Bennett? Like, we need to start figuring out our churches and then pulling in kids.
Yeah, he's interested in helping any way he could. I mean,
So, did the board
he's
say
in,
he could be the chaplain
well,
since
I
he's not
didn't.
allowed to be on the board?
Yeah, they were open to that idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were all that's good, they were open to even him coming to some of the meetings and,
Okay.
just yeah. So,
All right.
yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
know he has a lot of contacts too on Long Island.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lived there his
Yeah.
whole life. Um, Now let me just throw this out there, and you can tell me to shut up. I'm an idiot. But my friend Jimmy, who I grew up with, Jimmy Conklin,
Okay,
from
yeah.
Patchogue, you know him?
I heard of his name. I think I recognize him.
Okay.
Anyway.
He grew up in Patchogue. Um, he just won some big award for, is it the Lions? The Rotary Club, the Rotaries of Long Island.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute, aren't Rotaries? They're always doing good deeds, right?
Yeah.
What about reaching out to them? Wait, isn't that their
To the
job?
road. Well, the Rotary Club is an organization for businesses.
Okay, maybe it's, what's the Lions Club?
I don't know what the Lions Club is. I know the Rotary Club. My mother-in-law, I think, is involved with the Rotary Club. If you're a business owner, and it's just a way to, know in your own
Network.
community the other businesses, and you just got like you way to hook up, get contacts for other businesses.
Well, I'm thinking we can use Jimmy because he's got a million contacts, and I know that he can help us as far as like money. James Conklin Jr. Lions, the Lions, that's what it is.
The Lions Club. No, I've heard of them. I just don't know what they do.
Yeah, he
I don't
won
know
some
what
big
the.
award
Oh
as,
yeah.
yeah, Suffolk County Lions District
Wow.
20S. Um,
Well, maybe I could have a meeting with him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's got to be. Oh, he's friends with Bruce Bennett.
Oh, okay.
Um, no, I don't. You're not on there, but yeah. So, and he's well, I think he's a Christian. I know he grew up Methodist church,
Mm.
but I think he would be a valuable asset to us. And I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, if it has anything to do with Long Island and Long Island kids,
He,
he'll help you.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm like, okay, because I know we used to have kids from my church that went from Patchogue.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's just something to think about. I'll reach out to. I want to check with you first before I reach out to him.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll reach out to him.
All right. All right. Let me go.
Yes,
We've been talking for an hour and 40 minutes.
I know. But the second half isn't going to
Crazy.
be on there, is it?
It could be.
Let's see. All right. I love you, everybody.
We didn't say anything controversial
No, we didn't.
or wrong.
All right. Not like other
All
times.
right. So we'll talk again, and
Yeah.
have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
All
And
right.
congratulations on the wedding. You're going to love
Yeah.
it. You are
Oh, we're
going to
gonna
love
love
it.
it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
just went to get fitted for a suit.
Did you?
Yeah, me and Jenna's future father-in-law, we're
Okay.
gonna dress up the same, I guess. She wants us. She's got all us. She's got all of us wearing what is that, penguin outfits?
Tuxedos?
I don't. It's not a full tuxedo. It's just, but
Okay.
it's a rented, nice,
Yeah, yeah.
half tux or whatever.
You'll be looking
So
good.
yeah.
That's awesome.
All
All right, y'all. You take it
right.
easy.
All
I'll
right.
text
Have a
you.
good night. All
All
right.
right.
Bye.
Bye.